Aloha. Hey, it's Julie Zimalis, 365 Hawaii, and we are doing our TTT, which usually is at 3, but today we did it at 4. So next month we'll put it up a little bit and maybe you can join us. But what we're doing here today is we are going to give you an around the island update on what's happening with the housing market. And then we're going to take a question or two from our participants in the group. And then we are going to talk about what resources are available to you to actually go from escrow to moving onto the island and into your new home. And hopefully that will help many of you who are wondering what's it like and what's it take those last few weeks between being woohoo, I'm a homeowner, to the point where you're walking in and actually moving to Hawaii. So we're going to start with Lance Owens with Luba Realty, and he is going to be talking about the condo market, single family home market in Kailua-Kona.
Hey guys, thank you. Hi, Lance Owens with Luba Real Estate, and just looking at the housing market, it's kind of been, we've been cruising along at the same pace for most of the year. I just looked right now, and I'm looking over the right on my other screen, so sorry. There's 51 homes available right now in Kailua-Kona. So actually, it's a little bit of improvement. I think a month or two ago, we were down to 40 homes. So it's good. When you're talking between 40 and 50, that's a big percentage increase. So only about 25%. So it's looking good. I'm looking at there's several homes under $1 million. Looking again this morning at the median price for West Hawaii, more so North Kona, we were looking at $1,040,000 is the median price. So we're headed on the second month in a row of being over $1 million. We'll see how it closes out. We still got a few more days, but it seems to be solid. Things are coming along. We are seeing financing deals go through. We are also, it's interesting to see a couple of things like today on the caravan. There's other measurements in the community besides just the black and white numbers. One of the things was, last week on our caravan schedule, there was 5 homes, I think, and this week there were still 3 homes on caravan. And that may not seem like a lot, but barely we could get 1 home on caravan for most of the year. So
you're seeing more inventory maybe coming on the
market. a little bit more, and that's a good sign. And they're making it long enough to actually go through and see it on the caravan. And I'm sorry, and you guys may not know what caravan is. Caravan is where every Thursday from 9 to 12, the realtors hold the homes on open house. And we get together. I went to see one of the houses today, and they said there had been 40 agents through there. So wow, that was that's a good day.
Yeah. In fact, I was on the caravan tour this morning listening and to see if I could get any trends. And I love the one where the woman asked, are there any price reductions? Chirp.
Yeah,
no price reductions yet. And it looked like the realtors that were on there, and there were a lot, because they want to know what's going on in the market right now, because I think there's a lot of buyers out there. So Delania, what are you seeing? Speaking of a lot of buyers out there.
Yep. I just pulled up the condo listings, and there are 18 condos total. That's no other parameters. So just 18 condos available right now. The lowest is 199. The highest is 1.2 million. So most of them have been under less than 2 weeks on the market. And then there's a few that have been on for a long time, which usually means that nobody wants them. So not much to choose from with condos. I feel like buyers are starting to just be patient. I feel like at least a lot that I'm working with are willing to wait it out for the right property and not overpay and not just try to get into something to get into something. I think that frenzy is kind of calming down a little bit. But yeah, the good news is there's, every day a new one pops up. So we're getting more, but it's kind of slim pickings right now.
Yeah. And then I know that both you and Lance are, dealing with buyers right now that I can't remember if you guys are about in escrow or might put somebody in recently. How's the over asking experience going on in Kona? Are people paying at list and getting that list, or what's going on?
Yeah, there's so many factors, if they're cash, if they're financing, how much they're putting down, how aggressive they're willing to be. But yeah, not everyone's paying 200,000 over on a house. Not everyone's paying, under. It's just it's really a case by case basis. You have to look at that property and look at what you're going up against and look at what your factors are and kind of dial in the best case scenario.
Yeah. So, Jana, what's happening up in Kohala? This is Jana Mahoney. I'm sorry, that was Delania from eXp Realty, and then Jana Mahoney is with Windermere.
Okay, so Waikoloa Village has 9 active residences right now. Lowest $799, most expensive $1,105,000. So no, I'm sorry, $1,105,000 is the average. The highest is $1,650,000. Brand new listing today for $1,200,000. So we're seeing them pop on. There's one kind of outlier that's been on the market for a long time, but most of them are go pretty quickly. So in Waikoloa Village with condos, right now there are only 3 active listings. One of these listings will take pets, which is kind of what people want a lot of times. A lot of times people coming here would like to get a condo that will accept a pet. And so those are tough. Just know going into it, those are tough. So there's 3. One, the lowest is 414, the highest is 535. In Montalani, there are actually 6 condos that are active right now. The lowest is $1,375,000, the highest is $3.2 million. Oh no, that's everywhere. And then in the Montalani area, tax code for residential properties, there's only one, and it's at Puako, and it's 6.5 million. So that's
Wow.
kind of that area. So, things are still popping on. They're just not staying on. As soon as they come up, they're sold. So, and you were talking about as far as low balls are not a thing really right now. If the one, if a house is on the market for a long time, it's probably overpriced. But for the most part, houses are going at list or more.
Yeah. And then like with those condos you're talking about, there's 3 on the market. I mean, just throwing this out, how many people are competing for the condos like that? Is there like 14 offers on one place?
Well, it depends on the price. If it's reasonably priced, you're going to get quite a few offers. If sometimes people right now are pricing condos high just to see what can happen. And those might stay on a little bit longer, but that's normal. That's what always happens, right, in the market. So, these 3 condos, so the cheapest or the least expensive one is $414,000, and it's been on the market 24 days, and 535 is the highest priced one right now, and it's been on the market 61 days. So that's that's the thing. If one comes on and it's priced really well, it's probably gonna go quickly.
Okay.
Especially if it takes pets. Those are ones that people are always looking for.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, Amber Haley from Hawaii Life Realty. She helps people on the entire east side of the island. So, what are you seeing, and what's the story with the market over on that side?
Yes, we are still seeing, every month, less and less inventory, increase in sales. Our list to sales price is like 98%. Things are still selling at list. When I see new listings come on the market, still every month, a little more and more, my mouth kind of opens like, can't believe I'm seeing those prices this soon. And those houses seem to be maybe staying on a little more days on market, but they are selling still. So we still have a lot more buyers than properties for sale. Obviously, we're still in a hot sellers market over here. I am seeing a lot of factors, like with my own clients. I work with a lot of people relocating to Big Island, and some of them came in January. Some of them are postponing still because of COVID related stuff. So I do see, buyers getting tired, buyers moving back plans, buyers having a little bit more patience. So it's definitely not as frenzied over here, but there are still multiple offers, escalation clauses, prices that make me surprised, and still buyers interested in those properties. So a lot of what we've been seeing, I think it'll be continuing to pick up for the spring market. Hopefully continue to have, hopefully more listings come on the market in the spring, but yeah, a lot of competition still.
Yeah. That's the price we're going to be East Hawaii. So there you go.
Yeah, we have prices all over the map right now. I mean, in some neighborhoods where you never would have seen a house for $1 million, we have multiple houses for over $1 million. And, you know, then the lowest listing, like in one of the most popular neighborhoods in East Hawaii, you know, the lowest listing you'll see will be in the 200s right now. And that's usually because it's kind of like a skull crossbones kind of situation, house, cash only, distressed property or something. And then, you know, you have a lot of competition to even buy that. So it's all over the map.
Yeah. So some people are asking, because I get people who are saying, you know, I feel like I'm being kind of priced out of West Hawaii and I want to go to East Hawaii now. Just because Hilo is so much different than, let's say, HPP. Do you know what the median price basically for a house in Hilo is right now?
Yeah, so the median price in Hilo is about 580,000. And from like a year ago, it was closer to like 370. So it has gone up quite a bit. So yeah, a lot of people getting priced out in East Hawaii too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to compare that to like the Puna market, which is very busy. Oh, I just had that opened up somewhere. Let me see if I can find it so I don't tell you wrong. But yeah, Puna is going to be median price about in the 300s, about 329 is the median sales price in Puna right now compared to Hilo 580. Again, Puna has the riskier lava zone, so the land's a lot less valuable in specifically in certain areas. So that's kind of the discrepancy in price there. So it is different, but yeah, they're both up significantly from where we saw last year.
There we go. And Jana actually was in Hilo recently showing houses, and she was looking at a house that she was hopefully is going to go through in Kurdistan. Is that where you were?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Brand new construction. Is that what you said?
Do what?
Brand new construction.
Brand new construction. Yes. And so that's one of the things when I'm searching over there, I always search without lava zone 1 and 2, and I always search fee simple. But it seems like you have people who, you know, want less than 500,000. They might want like at least an acre or something. And there's stuff to see over there in that market.
Yeah. And Lance, I'm gonna throw you one. Someone's got $700,000 and wants a single family house. Are they gonna find it in West Hawaii?
No. So sorry. You know, and I just
got a couple people saying I got that kind of money and I want to buy a house in Hawaii. And I'm like, oh, you might not be able to make it happen on West Hawaii. So
and real quick, there's two on there, like at 600 and there's one at 300, and both of them are like the one at 600 is in Pualani Estates, 6 something, I don't remember exactly. But if you look at the photos, it's a cash only. It's a foreclosure from back in the days of 08, 09. You know, that just was in kind of that ghost, what do they call it? The zombie,
like, shadow inventory.
Yeah. So it finally came on the market. Everything's been torn out of the house. I'm sure it's going to go for at least $100,000 over what they're asking. So
gives location. Yeah,
that's kind of interesting. And real quick, I'm popping in on one of the comments earlier. I think Amber was talking about, you just look at a price, you're like, what? And it's kind of surprising, but I don't know if Delania, if you saw the Elite E Cove close at over $1 million 2 days ago. I'm grabbing my wife next to me. I'm like,
is that a condo?
Yes. A condo.
Yeah.
For $1 million?
Over $1 million, just over $1 million. So I went and searched like forever, even during 05, 06, if anything had sold over that. The highest price it had ever sold before, and there was 860. So I was kind of grabbing my wife.
Yeah, and Amber, same feeling over here with the price point. I mean, it's almost painful. Yeah, somebody shows interest in a property and I'm like, you can't pay that much for that property. It's just so much higher than it was a year or 2 years ago. So it's challenging to see these numbers. It's shocking, and it's a lot everywhere.
You know, it's interesting for people who are coming into the market now and they're working with realtors that have been around for a while. And then they say, well, how about this house? And having their realtor say, you know, that went up $250,000 in the course of 2 years, but it doesn't make it so that it's not worth it now, right? It's for the people who say, you know what, I'm coming, I don't care. That's what the market price is at this point. And as realtors, I know you guys have this duty to kind of say, hey, we just want you to know what the true value is so you know what you're looking at. So, you know, that's why it's really important to have a great agent that understands what the market value is and how to do all the comps. So, you know, if that actually backs up to what's being asked, right? Lance was helping my husband do some comps by running what sold recently. There's a whole mathematical experience to making sure that you know that you're not, I mean, at least it's fair, right? Not completely overpriced.
It's hard, we just came out with that house last month, and we held off just a few weeks ago, and we held off for 4 days. We just took offers, and we had 5 offers, and the one that we accepted wasn't even the same zip code of what we had it listed at. It was kind of 5, and we had such good comps. We had almost a duplicate house that had closed 4 days prior to what we listed at. It closed at 620. We priced at 640, and every offer came in over that, so, and when we had an exact same comp, I mean, literally days prior, and they were both these homes were built in the 70s. They were both in the same condition, and so it was really surprising to see that much difference with an exact comp days earlier.
Wow. Okay, so speaking of comps and getting money for your house, Marla, Wynn, and Scott went from the Wynn and Eagan team Citywide. Can you let us know a little bit about, like, maybe what you guys seeing in the market? Who's trying, do you have an update with us in terms of what's happening with the market, with the finances?
If you're looking in terms of interest rates, is that what you mean?
Interest rates, and also, are you seeing a flurry of new business? I mean, are there more buyers coming in the market? Are people, which like, sometimes you can tell in advance what's going to happen with the market because people have to call in advance to get their financing. Where are you guys in terms of like getting those phone calls? I mean, is there another wash of people coming in to buy houses in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months? You guys are kind of like our bellwether.
So I would say it slowed down a little bit between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But right before Christmas, ironically, like days before, it started picking up again. And so, yeah, we have a lot of buyers now that are looking to get pre-approved to come over to purchase in the spring. So a lot of the people that I'm talking to are planning to come in March, April timeframe. And they're doing what they should do, and they're getting prepared ahead of time, getting their pre-approval in place so that they can purchase when they land.
Good. Scott, any words of wisdom in terms of stuff you're seeing in the world?
I mean, I can talk a little bit about interest rates and such like that. I mean, I think everybody's seen the trend upwards with interest rates over the last month or so. I think when we did this last month, we were sitting at right around the lower 3s. Now we're sitting around the mid 3s for average interest rates, sitting at about 3.55% for a nationwide average. That's with 0.7% in fees and points. So that's quite a big jump up in the last month. We haven't seen that for quite some time. So, but it's definitely leveled off from last week. We're basically even from last week. So it's definitely starting to taper off a little bit, which is hopefully good news for the foreseeable future.
Good. And like you said, well, just like, for people who haven't seen these guys talk, you don't see this going to 4%.
No, I think all the forecasts, National Association of Realtors, Mortgage Bankers Association, all of those larger entities that do some of the forecasting expected that interest rates were going to be in the mid to, I don't know, maybe 3.5 to 3.75 by the end of the year. And we're already sitting there at 3.5 here in January. So hopefully that doesn't mean that we're going to go even higher, but I guess time will tell and see what happens with the economy and everything else. But hopefully things are starting to flatten out a little bit.
Okay. And the next month when we get the update, we'll see what happens, because, as everyone says, that there's a math equation too around when the interest rates go up 0.25%, how much less are you able to purchase at that point? And sometimes when you do the math, adding a little bit of extra to buying a house now actually works out in the long run for your mortgage payments.
Especially if you're accounting for the fact that market's going up as fast as it is with home prices and interest rates go up, then you've got that double hit. Whereas if you purchase now, you of course can lock in the price and you can lock in those lower interest rates than where they might be headed. So. Right.
Yeah. Because we have a couple people that are sitting in the wings and they keep thinking that at any minute the housing prices are going to go down. And I'm like, don't see it. And that's the reason why we do this thing, is that we can see that there's interest to buy houses and people are paying the prices throughout the island. So obviously it's holding steady that people want to move to Hawaii. With that, what I wanted to also ask you guys, because this has come up a few times, when people are actually winning the bids and able to get into the housing market, they want to move here. And so real quick, I'm gonna say hi to Sally. Hi, Sally. You can watch the replay when we do the YouTube, but Sally's in, she's looking to buy a home here too. When you guys say, okay, yay, congratulations, you know, we've gotten this house, now you gotta get your act together on the mainland to come here. Can you suggest to people what kinds of resources that they can use and do as realtors? Do you hand them like information that they can start using right away to start basically closing down their life on the mainland to come make Hawaii home? So Lance, what kind of stuff do you do with your people when they, you know, need to make the move?
You know, I think it's because everybody's individual, you know, we get, you know, half our sales are somebody that's just needs to bring a toothbrush. They're coming in, they just bought a vacation rental condo. So there's nothing to really do that. And then you've got the family that's coming in, with 30 totes, you know, and they need everything. But I think the biggest thing is the generalization of what we do is start getting them prepared, you know, set them up with Helco, which is our electric light company for those people that don't know what that is. And with the water district, some places we do have trash pickup and some don't laugh, but we do have trash pickup in some areas, and get them set up with that. And there's actually a couple of subdivisions that have sewers versus that. So we get everything transferred to their name, make sure that it's all prepared every step of the way, from the cable TV and things like that, so that when they close, all that is transferred to their name and they're not sitting there waiting a week for electricity to get turned on or cable to be turned on. So that's a basic, but you know, sometimes our clients need help with getting their vehicles here and things like that. So you just got to go on a case by case basis and set them up with, you know, living here 37 years and being a realtor for 18 years, we've helped a lot of people ship cars, and we kind of know who's a little bit more dependable and who's not, try to guide them in that direction.
Okay. Jana, do you offer your people, like, you seem to be the notebook kind of woman.
Yes, so you know me, I have a checklist, and I kind of determine based on the specific person what they're going to need. So like Lance said, some people, you know, will need to turn on the cable and the water and the electric, and so I have all of those phone numbers. Basically it's a different water company in Waikoloa than it's going to be in Kona, so I kind of customize an email 2 weeks beforehand that they need to, hey, on this certain date you need to make sure these are your utilities are turned on. And I have prepared ahead of time, like information on how to move dogs, how to move cars. And then of course you organize things like a key handoff, or if they want to have it rekeyed before they get here, I can help with that. You know, pick up at the airport. I've been known to do that, and deliver people and talk to people about, like Lance said, sometimes people will come with multiple plastic containers, you know, that, and so I kind of help them arrange that before they come with the airline. How do you do that? And then of course I also keep a list of professionals, like where do you get your hair done, and the dentist and things like that I hand over to people when they come, because you know, you're coming here, you need to know where the doctors are, right?
Yeah. The ones that are taking patients.
Right.
And then Delania, do you offer something to people? I know that you've got people coming in 5 weeks from now going like this. Okay,
Yeah.
get it together.
Yeah, actually, I have her house keys right here. I'm waiting for her when she arrives. So I'll be meeting her when she comes in. But yeah, you know, like everyone said, there's things that happen at point of sale that we prepare ahead of time. And then it's case by case basis on, you know, little things they need. I have clients that had to leave the island quickly, and I was at their house today pulling the garbage cans in and meeting a vendor. And, you know, we're kind of that go-to person. Sometimes they don't know anyone else on the island, you know, when they first come here. So it's like, hey, you know, where's a good restaurant, or do you know a gardener, or can you help me figure this out? Sometimes there's things like pets, moving pets is a big one. So that needs to be dealt with way in advance. But yeah, a lot of times I think we're just that go-to person for whatever comes up.
Yeah, because when I first moved here, our realtor was the only person I knew. And so, but he was also working with 18 other people, and we kept going like this, okay, now what do we do? He's like, oh, you gotta figure this out. So having realtors that actually respond and give you information, like I know that Delania, one of your clients that referred you to, she was looking for a gardener because her lawn is dying while she's waiting to move here. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, how am I going to handle all that while I'm waiting? And so those are the kinds of things you have to think of, is if you bought a house and you're not moving here for 2 months, who's handling the landscaping? You know, who's going to water the lawn? And
Yeah.
so these are good things to think about as people might be thinking, okay, I moved to Hawaii. Where are the things that I have to worry about? And like you said, getting service providers, making sure that, how are you going to move your stuff here and who's picking you up and how are you going to make that work? So, and then Amber, what have you seen on your side? What do you offer something? You have your blogs too. I'm sure that you have information in your blogs too, right?
Yeah, so I offer a lot of the same, like obviously right when you're before you're closing and you're in the escrow process, you're going to need to know all the vendors so you can take care of a lot of that ahead of time. Don't wait until the last day to try and transfer your utilities. You might not have power in Hawaii for a week, especially on the east side of the island if you wait last minute. But yeah, there's a lot of resources. I also like to make sure everybody knows if it's applicable to them. You can save a lot of money filing for homeowners tax exemption if you're eligible for that. So after closing, take care of that kind of stuff. Nextdoor.com is a great resource once you're on the island. Get to know your neighbors, get to know more vendors. The internet has so many resources. I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this maybe are already in it, but Julie in the 365, she has newbies groups, which is a great way to meet more people. I think relocating to the Big Island can feel kind of isolating at first. It's kind of hard, especially during COVID and everything, to like kind of get plugged in. So like get yourself plugged in right away. Also, I try and offer a lot of resources to my clients who are maybe buying a house with like a water catchment tank for the first time, and they've like never heard of that or seen that. So, like a brochure, so you can kind of like get to know the basics, a handyman, whatever vendors you need. And then I personally also have a Facebook group that if anybody wants to join it, let me know that you're from 365 when you do. It's called Big Island Hawaii Living. I'm not letting very many people in it right now because it kind of got too big, but it's a great place to crowdsource more information because everybody's situation is so different when they relocate to Big Island, whether they have questions about kids, schools, jobs, like plumbing, like, whatever questions you have. Crowdsourcing on the internet is awesome. And it's so easy to do in 2022. So I like to direct people to places where they can get answers because, my situation and every client that I've worked with is not necessarily going to be their situation. So crowdsourcing as much as you can. And I'm also adding to my website. It's getting a little refresh right now. Portals for my clients to add some more specific resources for their exact needs so that they kind of have that all in one electronic place when they're in escrow.
I didn't even have to pepper you with having people join our groups to get these kinds of things answered. Thank you. In fact, that's another thing too, that my Kona newbies group has gotten to the point where there's so many people trying to get in right now because they just want to like figure out if they can live here, that I'm like looking for the right, the people who are saying, I'm coming in from 365, I've seen you on the internet, that they have a little bit more information about what's it like to live here. So if you are watching this on YouTube, we have the 365 Hawaii Kona newbies group. We've got the Hilo newbies group, and we've got the Kohala newbies group. So you can connect with people and get some information. And if you are joining the 365 Ohana, you also have access to a private Facebook group about moving to Hawaii. And in fact, I just peppered the questions about having people who've already moved here and bought a house help with this almost exact question there now with people who are making the move over and what they need to know and what they need to do and when, and pets, signing up for schools, getting your utilities dealt with. So it's all there. So there's a lot to think about and a lot to do before you move to an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So that's why I asked this question, because some people were like overwhelmed when they started seeing the lists that people have had put together when they try and move here. So it's not something you wait to the last minute to do. And the Wynns, they haven't been on the island for too long, a couple of years. Were you kind of shocked at the level of preparation needed to move to Hawaii when you guys closed on your house in Kona? Or did you have it all planned out ahead of time? Because that's how Scott is too.
Well, luckily, and we've been here for almost 3 years.
3 years now.
But we were here for 6 weeks prior to moving, and we spent that 6 weeks here in an Airbnb. That's when we found the house. We made the offer. So we had a slightly different situation. We weren't buying sight unseen or just by visiting at one time. We actually got to visit the house a couple times and do the inspection before we flew back to Colorado and put our home on the market. But we were back less than 3 months later. Once we landed back in Colorado, we're like, let's just get there. We weren't surprised by the amount of stuff that we moved. We actually might be a little bit different than a lot of people. We moved our entire household of all the things that we thought we would need. We are very detailed though, so we measured all the rooms exactly. We went back to our house in Colorado. We looked at our furniture. We set it up in the same configuration in that house to see if it would fit here. And we sold the stuff that we couldn't bring. And literally there were only like 2 items once we moved that we did not use. Everything else we did use, with the exception of, to you ladies, if you own a lot of leather boots, don't bring those. I gave most of mine away to my daughter, but I brought 2 pair and I never wore them. And I finally gave them away to my husband's stepmom who visited over Christmas. I'm like, please take these boots. Like, never gonna wear them.
I thought you were going to say because they were covered in green mold within few.
I kept them.
Happened to
They
mine.
got that way a few times, but I kept them clean.
Yeah.
But one thing I will mention is the water department. I know you guys have already mentioned it, but we ran into this in Colorado. The water title transfers the water when you buy a home in Colorado. And that is not the case here. And we didn't know that we should do that well in advance of closing on the home. So that's just a learning lesson. Like, do it a couple of weeks before you close at least. Don't wait until 3 days before you close. That's a problem. And then another thing I'll mention is that if there are consumables that you cannot live without, like if you are a Trader Joe's shopper and there are Trader Joe's things that you cannot live without, buy a bunch and ship them. Bring them with your stuff, because there are just some things you cannot get here. Batteries.
Yeah, like lithium batteries too. If you have like electronics, Eric does drones and he can't get lithium batteries here because they won't ship them here. Yeah.
Right.
So the funny thing is that the Trader Joe's thing, Lance had a whole stream of going off about how Trader Joe's isn't as special as we all make it out to be. So he was like, this save your space for something that actually matters. And I'm like, no, the chocolate and peanut butter Joe cookies, give me a case.
The coconut,
Yeah,
the coconut body lotion is what I have everybody bring from Trader Joe's. I love it.
Yeah.
The other thing about the house I'll mention is that we wish we'd had it was vacant for a few months between the time the sellers left and we moved in. And so we weren't having really extermination done during that time. So it took us a while to build up the barrier to the critters that were coming into our house. So that's something, in addition to landscaping, I would plan on doing or paying someone to do if there's going to be a lag.
Oh, so hire a pest management company.
I would.
Yeah. We had little creepy crawlies in our house too. But real quick, also I told Dominic, because Dominic's on the call, and Sally is too. Do you guys have questions right now that you want to ask of any of the realtors or the mortgage people?
Yeah. So in general, for anybody, do you see the asking price being really close to the appraisal prices nowadays? It has pretty much caught up. And the other question would be, is even though the inventory is low, do you see the market as it in inventory wise from year to year kind of be the same amount, same percentage of homes on the market, even though we're at almost no inventory?
You compared to last year, you mean, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to jab that one?
I think in Waikoloa, not only is it not much is selling below the list price, I think a lot of it is selling above list price. So this is not a low ball market. I wouldn't think that you're going to be very successful if you try to do that. But sometimes you might be able to get a little bit less, but most of the time, if it's a multiple offer situation, it's probably over list.
Mhm.
And I do not think that we have as much inventory now as we had last year. It's just not, it's not coming on the market. The inventory is lower. You know, at the beginning of COVID, there were houses on the market, but there weren't really buyers. And now it's kind of the other way around. We have buyers and we don't have houses.
Yeah. And then the appraisal gap also. We talked about that at some other point. It's kind of like a mortgage experience. The appraisal gap, I think Marla, you was talking about how it seems to be catching up.
Yeah, and I think Lance was going to chime in on the inventory, weren't you, Lance?
Yeah, just, you know, I always go back and look at 2019. That's kind of the only normal year we've had in the last 4 years. So I picked that year to look at numbers, and, you know, like I say, we would have had 150 homes for inventory here in Kona, and we got 51 as of this minute, right? So that's you know, that's 33% of what we normally have. So it's all about supply and demand, and so that's a big thing. And really quick to just chime in on what I'm seeing in the appraisal gap. I'm seeing a lot of the stuff. It's up and down. You really got to look at it closely, but we haven't asked for that appraisal gap waiver much. But that home that I just told you about, when I had a house close on the street for 620, that was apples for apples, and we got such a higher offer, we did counter them with an appraisal waiver. So, but for the most part, Dominic, I'm seeing that most of them are coming in close enough because there's enough to justify it.
That's good.
And right now, the inventory for a Q4 of last year was only 1.5 months. And that's down over 30% from the year before. So if that gives you a little bit of an idea of how low that inventory continues to be, Dominic.
Okay. And there's a nationwide problem. I watch the nationwide trends. This is a nationwide experience. So, you know, and even when my guys who does prognostications with real-time data, he said everything would point to people pulling back and waiting and thinking we're on top of some kind of a bubble, and they're not. They're still out there freaking buying these houses, and it's just, there's just not enough inventory. So, Dominic, was that, would you wanted to get your, is that to answer your question?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, even here in LA, I could see the prices of the surrounding houses that are getting sold much higher than it was a year ago. So it's not just Hawaii. So it's pretty much everywhere else. I also want to add, you know, thank Delania and Marla for helping me start the process here. We've been working for about a month or so now. So I want to thank them for all the help that they've been giving me to get this going. So.
Good for you. Good for you. We give you a little juju, good dust for getting the house you want. And yeah.
I have to say, you know, Dominic, you're in a good position, and, you know, kind of a little bit of a positive. We offered on a condo, and he beat out with a financed offer. He beat out 5 other offers. Made the decision not to move forward because it was priced so high that there was concerns about the appraisal. It was. I want to say it was a good 200,000 over the comps. So it would have been an interesting purchase. So, but, you know, that to beat out 5 other offers, you know, that says a lot. So I think, you know, when we get the right property, you're going to be in a really good position.
Yep. Just being patient.
Yeah.
There you go. And Sally, I know that I don't see your face there, but do you have any questions or anything that you want to throw in? No, Sal. Okay, she's from the Southern California market as well.
I can add a little data to the conversation surrounding purchase prices versus appraised values. I pulled up the last 20 transactions we closed in Hawaii just to see how many had an appraised value lower than the purchase price. And out of the last 20, there were 4 that had values lower than purchase prices. And some were as little as $100 difference, and there were others that were significant, but it also depends largely on the value or the value and price of the home, right? So the higher the price of the home, generally the bigger the gap will be. So that's just kind of give some data to it. 4 out of 20, 3 out of the 20 actually had appraisal waivers where we didn't even have to do appraisals, which sometimes happens. Especially on owner-occupied properties. So that also occurs. But for the most part, especially recently, we're seeing that there's far less appraised values coming in lower than what they're purchasing a home for.
Good information. Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so keeping this to around 45 minutes where we're at right about now. Unless there's any other questions, Dominic, you're our star performer today. Okay. I want to thank everyone for being here and giving us their input and insights into what's happening with the market in on Hawaii Island. And stay tuned for next month. We're actually going to do it on the third Thursday, and we're going to do it at 3. And we will have more information for you. And if you have questions that you want to have the people answer, put them in the comment section on YouTube, and we will answer them on YouTube. And then we'll also discuss it in the Facebook groups as well. So with that, thank you for joining us, and have a great rest of the month. And we'll see you next time. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you, guys. Great to see everybody. We'll see you guys.
Bye, Dominic.